Hello, Miss Connors. I'm working with Detective Boxer. We want to visit Sutter's camp and heard there's a way to get there through the mine. Do you have a map of the mine?
We did, but it's no longer a functioning mine, and it's not at all safe. All pertinent documents were put in storage. I recommend strongly that you rethink any plans to go in there.
Right. Thank you.
What can I do for you, Detective?
My name is Lindsay Boxer, San Francisco PD. I came to talk to you about Sutter Ames.
Who? Never heard of him.
Let me jog your memory. Sutter Ames planned to move to Chateau d'Ortagna in 1976. You owned that property, and here's a photo of you with Sutter Ames.
All right, I knew him. I was into his scene for a while. Well, for God's sakes, it was the 70s. Everyone was into the freak scene.
Including Mandy Malone?
What happened to Mandy had nothing to do with me. Sure, we had a few romps up in Cypress View. She liked older men, but that's no crime, right? I don't know what happened to that girl. When she was murdered, I cut off all contact with Ames. Never went back up there. You want to know the truth? I was afraid the press down here would crucify me. But they never found out about my connection to Ames and Cypress View, thank God.
So you never talked to the police about the night Mandy was murdered?
Look, I don't know what happened to Mandy. I was looking for her at Sutter's Samhain ceremony that night, but she never showed. Next thing I knew, the cops were at the camp the next morning and she was dead. I assumed she'd been killed by Sutter or one of his freaks. I felt terrible for the kid, but mostly I was in self-preservation mode.
If you cut off all contact with Sutter, why was he planning to move to your home in France?
About a year later, Sutter got a hold of me. Said he had to get out of Cypress View. Mandy's dad was in town and the locals hated him. He was desperate. He had no money. He threatened to go to the press about my involvement in his little scene if I didn't help him get out of there. What could I do? I had the property in France. I never got to use it. I told him he could park there for a while. It was far enough away, I figured the press might not find out about it.
But there are no records that Sutter Ames ever stayed at your chateau in France.
I don't know. It was all arranged, but he never showed. I figured he must have found some other hole to disappear into. And good riddance.
That's your story? He just never showed up?
It's the truth. I never saw Sutter Ames in person after he was arrested for Mandy's murder. Swear on my mother's grave.
Thank you, Mr. Mortimer. I'll be in touch.
Detective Boxer, this is the lab. We were finally able to pull some data off that hard drive you sent over.
Oh, yeah? What did you find?
Most of it's corrupted, no way to get it back. But we were able to recover an email still sitting in our outbox. It was never sent.
What does it say?
It's addressed to a Fran Cottam. Email history shows that she was Miss Blacklock's literary agent. Letter says that she found Sutter Ames. Does that name ring a bell?
Yes, of course. Does she say where Sutter Ames is?
No, pretty vague email. Just somewhere about how she wants to keep this close to the vest until she can dig into the case some more. The timestamp shows it was sitting in her outbox for several hours, which suggests she was somewhere without internet access.
Thank you. This is very helpful. Did you find anything else on the hard drive?
Various personal files. The only thing that might be relevant to your investigation is a spreadsheet where she was tracking trip expenses.
Were there any purchases in Cypress View?
Just one a couple days back. $22.73 at a Bourne's General Store. Doesn't say what she purchased.
Okay, thanks. I'll look into it. Randy, Regina's records show she made a purchase here for $22.73 on the day before she was killed. Do you remember what she bought?
We were pretty busy around the festival, so I don't remember offhand, but I can check my receipts. One sec. 22, 2264, that's not it. 2218, 2273, here it is. It looks like Regina bought a shovel and a map of the area.
Do you remember her saying anything about what she needed those items for?
She didn't say anything to me, but I do remember now seeing her speaking with Beverly outside the store. They looked at the map together, and it kind of looked like Beverly was giving her directions.
Thanks, Randy. I'll see if Beverly remembers.
Hello again, Detective Boxer. Is there something I can help you with?
Hello, Miss Connors. Yes, I'm hoping you can. The day before Regina Blacklock was murdered, you ran into her outside the general store.
Yes, I remember that. She wanted to know where the nearest lighthouse was located. I gave her directions to the Pacific Point Lighthouse, just north of here.
Didn't she already have a map?
Well, she had a map of the area, but it didn't have the lighthouse on it.
Can you give me those directions as well? I'm going to have to check it out.
Certainly. Let me write them down for you. It's a lovely drive. I have trouble remembering the street names sometimes, but I have mnemonic devices for them all. Here you are.
Thank you, Miss Connors.
Glad to be of help. If you'll excuse me, I was just about to go on my lunch break.
Lindsay, I just finished my autopsy, and the DNA is a perfect match. That's Sutter Ames you found buried at the lighthouse.
Unbelievable. Regina found Sutter first, and it looks like she died because of it. Were you able to establish time of death on Ames?
Well, it's tough to be exact given the level of decay, but these remains are pretty ancient. I'd say he's been dead at least 30 years. Ames couldn't have lived much longer after Mandy Malone was killed.
What about a cause of death? Any idea?
I found no trauma on the skeleton, but analysis of the remaining particulates showed a number of substances found in seawater.
He was drowned?
That, or he was dumped in the water afterwards. No way to know, but he was definitely submerged for at least a few days. Given the substance levels I found, there were fibers remaining around his ankles as well. I'd guess it was rope, tied to something to weigh him down in the water.
If Ames was murdered around the time Mandy Malone was killed, it would help to speak with the sheriff that was on the case. I'll see if I can track down who that was.
Good luck, Lindsay. Let me know if there's anything else I can do.
Thanks, Claire. And let's keep a lid on the details. I want a chance to investigate the death of Sutter Ames before it becomes a tabloid feeding frenzy.
Sure thing, Linz. We can stall for a couple of days. Good luck.
Beverly, I'm sorry to bother you again, but I have more questions about the Mandy Malone case.
Thank you, Detective. Incomplete word puzzles are an itch I simply must scratch. Now, what can I do for you?
Miss Connors, can you tell me who the sheriff was in Cypress View during Mandy's murder investigation?
Yes, his name was Richard Walton. He wasn't too popular around here after the Mandy Malone case went unsolved, and he eventually resigned under the pressure.
Do you know where he is today?
Last I heard, he had moved just northeast to here, to the apartment building next to the Hillcrest Cemetery. He's probably pushing 80 by now, but as far as I know, he's still there.
I see. Thank you for your help.
My pleasure. My break is over, though. If there's nothing else, I'll get back to my books.
No, that's all for now. Thanks again.
Yeah?
Mr. Walton, this is Detective Lindsay Boxer of the San Francisco Police Department. It's urgent that I speak to you about the Mandy Malone case.
What do you take me for? Do you know how many real crime freaks I get buzzing my apartment, claiming to be some person or another, trying to get me to talk about Mandy Malone? Go away. Why is that name familiar? Regina...
Regina was writing a book on the murder of Mandy Malone. If she learned of your whereabouts, she almost certainly would have tried to contact you.
That's it. Yeah, I remember now. She called last week. I told her what I told you. Everything I have to say is in the reports. If you're telling the truth, then I'm sorry she's dead. But unless I'm a suspect, leave me alone.
She found the body of Sutter Ames shortly before her murder and may have died for that discovery.
What? Sutter Ames is dead? How? When did he die? Oh, what am I saying? I don't even know if you are who you say you are. I'll buzz you in, and if you can show me a badge, we can talk.
Then we'll be talking shortly, Mr. Walton.
Well, I'll be damned. You are a cop. Sorry for the hassle, Detective, but you wouldn't believe the number of cranks I get pestering me about Mandy Malone.
I can imagine. And now you can add me to the list because I need to pester you about Sutter Ames and the Mandy Malone case.
Sure, I just need to take my medications first, or nobody will be able to ask me anything. Can you help me find the bottles? I have 8 different prescriptions, and I can't find them. Oh, some of my old sheriff's keys from my Cypress View days. You can keep them. I probably don't open anything at this point. I had them for some of the doors and gates around town in case of emergency. Thanks for the help, Detective. I think I eat more pills than food these days, but I'm still kicking, so I can't complain. Now then, Sutter Ames is really dead, you say?
Yes, he apparently drowned, but his body was recently discovered in a shallow grave on the coast, suggesting foul play. He died around the time he was thought to have left Cypress View. Did you have any run-ins with Sutter before the Malone murder?
I was fairly certain he was in possession of illegal drugs, but I had no probable cause to act on it. It's not against the law to invite people to your private cabin in the woods. And the squirrels never filed a noise complaint.
So, you wouldn't say Sutter Ames had a cult?
Oh, there's a lot of mystical mumbo-jumbo surrounding him, but I think most of the folks were there for the party, not for the spirituality, especially the young kids like Mandy.
But the parents had other ideas?
Of course. I had pressure to do something about Sutter Ames and his cult well before Mandy's murder. But I was a cop, not a babysitter. Call me when there's been a crime, not because little Johnny is out past his curfew.
You got yourself a crime, all right. When was the last time you saw Sutter?
I stopped by Sutter's place to make one last attempt to get him to leave town. He had resisted at first. Wouldn't be driven out of his home over a crime he didn't commit, he said.
Something finally changed his mind?
Well, I thought he finally realized that being right wouldn't mean being happy. Everyone had turned against him, probably unfairly, but why stay in his home just to spite the angry mob?
Is that why you didn't suspect foul play when Ames disappeared?
I wondered why he never shipped his things, but I thought he probably had some hippie revelation about material possessions or bad karma or something, and just left it all behind. There was no body, no missing persons report, and no love lost from the folks in town. So I let it go.
Now that we know Ames was murdered, do you suspect anyone in particular?
Since most of the town thought Ames was guilty, you could say most of the town had a motive.
Surely some residents were more convinced of Sutter's guilt than others, right?
Yeah, that's true. The real ringleaders in the crusade against Sutter Ames were Bud Malone, Rebecca Atkins, and Mike Boren. They'd be at the top of my list.
Tell me about the Mandy Malone investigation.
I wasn't really prepared to deal with a case like that. Small-town sheriffs are for handling barroom scuffles and petty criminals, not solving grisly murders.
Didn't any outside agencies help with the case?
Oh, sure, but as far as the citizens were concerned, I was the face of the investigation.
That must have been a lot of pressure.
It was intense. Oh, yeah. I had hair before the Malone case. And most of the town thought Ames was guilty and wanted justice. But there never was a shred of evidence that he killed Mandy.
I imagine Bud Malone didn't take any of it very well.
He was outraged. And who could blame him? His beautiful daughter had been brutally murdered, and the man most folks agreed was responsible was walking free. He was divorced, living out of state when it happened, and I think he felt like he'd failed to protect her, which made the pain even worse.
Did he ever make threats against Sutter Ames?
He was more inclined to make threats against me for not arresting Ames. I never heard him threaten Sutter's life directly. But Bud clearly thought that man had murdered his child, and he wanted justice.
How did Rebecca Atkins figure into this?
And Rebecca was relentless. She was the first last and loudest voice calling for Sutter's arrest.
Why? Did she have a grudge against him?
Rebecca thought of Cypress View as her town. Well, she had a lot of influence, and I think she resented the bad influence Sutter had on the young folks in Cypress View.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes, I'm Adam Atkins. And you are?
Lindsay Boxer. I'm a detective with the San Francisco PD.
Long way from home, Detective. What brings you out to our neck of the woods?
I was hoping I could ask you some questions about Sutter Ames.
I suppose, but you've caught me at a bad time. The main saw blew a fuse and I need to get it fixed. If you can replace any blown fuses in the fuse box outside while I reset the machine, that would be a big help. There's a whole process for starting the saw up again, and I can't waste too much more downtime or this day's a total loss.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, thank you, Detective. That was a huge help replacing those fuses. It takes a while to get the saw started up again, and it looks like you got those new fuses in place just in time. We're back up and running.
Adam, are you familiar with this symbol? Have you ever seen this before?
Yeah, it does look a little familiar, but I don't know from where. Why? Does it have something to do with Sutter? It looks like one of those witchcraft symbols he probably would have used.
I don't know yet. I'm still looking into it. Your mother, Rebecca Atkins, she was an important figure in this town, wasn't she?
You could say that. Respected for sure. She built this sawmill from nothing.
Did you have a good relationship with her?
She liked things her way. She was a good mother, but we didn't always see eye to eye. I never quite felt that I could live up to her expectations. I'm just trying to fill her shoes, you know, last man in the family, trying to keep the Atkins name going.
Did your mother ever get angry, violent, physical at all that you remember?
What? Why would you ask that? She was a loving mother. She wouldn't hurt a fly.
What about Sutter Ames? Did your mother know him personally?
Oh, I doubt it. She hated Ames, wanted him kicked out of Cypress View. She pushed real hard to have him arrested after the whole Mandy thing. But she never really talked about it after Sutter left town. I guess she got over it.
Did you know Mike Boren growing up?
Well, my mother did. They knew each other pretty well, and me and his son Randy have been friends since high school.
Do you know if Mike knew Sutter Ames, or was he ever involved with Ames?
No way. Randy's dad was standing right there next to Mom trying to get Sutter arrested. And you should have seen that guy's gun collection. I'll bet you he would have lined Ames up and given the firing squad free of charge. Boy, Randy really took it hard when his dad passed away a couple of years back.
Was Winston Laramie one of your teachers in high school?
Yeah, American Lit. Oh no, Advanced English or something like that. Nice guy. Kind of a hippie, though. I heard rumors he got involved in Sutter's group, but I never really knew.
And were he and your mother friends?
Well, sure. They knew each other pretty well. In fact, Mr. Laramie used to work for my mom here at the mill when he was younger, before he became a teacher.
Adam, did you know Mandy Malone before she died?
Small town. We were in the same class. You end up knowing everyone, but we weren't close.
Do you think Sutter Ames killed Mandy?
Of course he did. There's no other plausible explanation for it. He and his other crazies took her out to that camp and did something unthinkable to her. Some sort of sacrifice to their devil gods, I don't know. Beautiful girl, and they took that away. Then Sheriff Walton and his cronies came through with their donuts, twiddled thumbs for a couple of months trying to figure out what to do, and in the meantime, Sutter skips town. Only reason that case is still open, Detective, is because of pure incompetence.
What do you think of Sutter, Adam? You were in high school when he was in Cypress View. You ever go out to that camp in the woods? Dance around a fire with Ames and the rest of them?
Oh no. Wouldn't step foot in that place or go within a football's throw of Sutter. I'd have clocked him one good if I had, too.
Why is that?
He was older than all of us. Came around and started talking to the other kids at the high school. It was creepy, you know? Some of the other kids got roped into his group, especially the girls. Man, the girls sure did love Sutter Ames. I don't know what he was really doing out there, but I didn't want any part of it. Besides, I was too busy playing football anyways. Well, if that's all, Miss Boxer, I should really get back to work.
Yes, thank you for your time.
I'm still having the dreams, Doc. Or a nightmare, I suppose.
Why don't you walk me through the dream again, Randy? As much detail as you can remember.
Same as always. I'm on a ship at night. It's dark. The light from the full moon is bouncing off the water as the ship rocks slowly. Masked figures in robes are all around me. They make me walk the plank, except it's not a few feet long. It seems to go on forever. They're taunting me, prodding me forward, forcing me to the end. The long and painful walk to my death. I reach the edge and wait. One of the masked figures, the leader it seems, he comes up behind me and whispers something in my ear.
What does he say?
I don't remember. I never do. I just know that in my dream I'm frightened by him. He whispers to me and then slowly, gently, his hands lower me into the water.
He pushes you over.
No, he holds me and slowly lets me down into the sea. Yet when I enter the water, it's with sudden extreme force. All of the air in my lungs is ripped out within a moment, and I swing and flail my arms in search of oxygen. I try to swim to the surface, but my legs are bound by a serpent.
A serpent?
A snake, wrapped around my legs, confining me, sucking the life out of me, and I sink deeper and deeper into the dark. And I hear again the words that he whispered to me as my life fades out, and they both comfort and terrify me, but I don't remember them. I never remember them.
Wow, heavy stuff.
Oh, hello, Miss Boxer. What can I do you for?
There were a number of people back in '75 who pushed hard for Sutter's arrest, including your father. They clearly thought he was guilty, maybe even enough to take matters into their own hands. Unfortunately, they've all passed away by now. But I found an odd symbol on each of their gravestones.
Is the symbol important?
I thought you could tell me. I found the exact same symbol on your book here. Did you put this symbol on their graves? Did you think they were cursed?
What? No, of course not. I don't even know where I got that book. A customer must have left it here.
Randy, I thought you'd like to know that we found the body of Sutter Ames. He's been buried for the last 35 years.
My God, really? After all this time, what do you think it means?
I think it means that at least one person was certain that Sutter Ames killed Mandy. Certain enough to take justice outside the law.
Oh, or maybe Sutter committed suicide because he was so ashamed of killing Mandy.
And then buried himself? Seems unlikely.
Right. Well, I hope you find out who it was.
You mentioned to your therapist about a recurring dream that you have, that you're drowning. Can you tell me about it? Do you think it means anything?
I can't believe you. Those are private tapes. And anyways, it's just a dream. Sometimes I dream that I'm a giant teddy bear riding a bicycle through the Alps. It doesn't mean anything.
The autopsy on Ames revealed that he was drowned. His feet were bound, just like your dream. It seems like quite a coincidence.
I don't know what you're getting at, Detective.
Randy, I have to ask this. Do you know anything about the death of Sutter Ames? Were you involved?
Absolutely not. I've never even been to that lighthouse before.
I never said that his body was found at the lighthouse. You couldn't know that unless you knew he was buried there. It's time to come clean, Randy.
I'm tired of running from this. It's haunted me for 35 years, and I just want it to be over. We killed Ames.
We?
Me, Dad, Bud Malone, Rebecca Atkins, and Mr. Laramie. We took him out on our boat, tied his legs together and attached an anchor to him, then pushed him overboard. for what he did to Mandy. I was just a kid. It didn't even seem real, like I was play acting. The only way I could get through it was thinking of Mandy all cut up like that, thinking that Sutter did that to her. A couple days later, he washes up on the beach near the lighthouse. Anchor must have come loose. Dad used to work out there sometimes, and luckily he found the body. So he and Bud buried it. They wanted people to think Sutter had skipped town and the body might lead back to us. Ever since then, all I can think about is whether we had the right guy. Did Sutter really kill Mandy? Or did we kill an innocent man? It haunts me.
Randy, I'm going to need you to come with me.
Of course.
Hello?
Linz, I've been trying to get a hold of you.
Sorry, I've been busy catching a killer. Or 5.
What? You've already solved Regina's murder?
No, I solved the murder of Sutter Ames.
You did? Who?
Randy Boren, and apparently 4 others, all now deceased. Revenge for Mandy, it seems.
My God, what a messed up town.
And the number of murderers in this town doesn't stop at 5, unfortunately. So what's your news?
Jill got the injunction pushed through to dig up the body of Mandy Malone, and I just finished a preliminary autopsy.
Fantastic. Any important revelations?
There were metal particulates and fragments along the bone cuts that contradict the coroner's original findings about the cutting implement.
How so?
The autopsy performed in 1975 determined that Mandy was dismembered by a straight-edged handsaw, but that's impossible. The pattern and distribution of the particulates actually suggest a circular blade with very large teeth.
A large circular blade. There's only one place around here with anything like that. The Atkins Mill.
Exactly. Jill is already working on a search warrant. She should have it by the time you reach the mill.
On my way. I'll bring luminol and a sample kit. If Mandy was dismembered there, I should still be able to find traces of blood around the saw.
Lindsay, you're close to something big. Be safe out there.
Always.
Lindsay, the results are in. That was Mandy Malone's blood you found in the saw.
As we suspected. What about the sweatshirt?
It's definitely a match to the fibers found on the fence, but it's a fairly common brand, and it doesn't prove that it was that sweatshirt specifically. The rip in the sweatshirt is fairly damning, though. Good luck, Lindsay.
Mr. Atkins, I'm glad you're here. I need to speak with you.
Detective Boxer, what can I do for you?
Did you break into Dodger's Auto and tamper with Regina Blacklock's car before she left Cypress View?
Of course not. I'm occasionally a paying customer there, but the idea that I would break into it's ridiculous.
Then how do you explain this, Mr. Atkins? Fiber analysis on the sweatshirt found in your office matches it to fibers found on a section of fence at Dodger's Auto, which was used as an entry point for a break-in.
That has to be a coincidence. Anyone could have a sweatshirt like that. I ripped mine on a piece of equipment here at the mill, and I have no reason to break into an auto shop anyway.
You would if you were hiding something that Regina Blacklock was close to uncovering.
I'm not hiding anything. I've been straight with you for your entire investigation.
What about telling me that you didn't know Mandy Malone very well? You were romantically involved with her, weren't you?
No. I told you before we weren't together like that. Just acquaintances.
Then how do you explain this?
Oh, she was so beautiful.
Mr. Atkins?
Yeah. We were together. In love, actually, if you care. We were gonna run away together.
But something changed, didn't it? Maybe you had a fight about something, and it turned violent?
No, I would never have tried to hurt her. Yes, we had a little argument because I didn't want her to go to Sutter's crazy ritual, but she insisted on going anyway.
But she never made it, did she, Adam?
Yes, she went to that ritual, and they cut her up. Everyone knows that's what happened.
We found blood around the saw here in your mill, and we've matched that blood to Mandy Malone. She wasn't cut up at the ritual. She was cut up here, on that saw.
I loved her, you know, more than anything. I wouldn't hurt her.
Not on purpose, but there was an accident, wasn't there? It's time to stop the lies, Mr. Atkins.
I didn't mean to kill her.
Can you tell me what happened?
I was a senior in high school. Mandy and I started seeing each other in secret. I wasn't part of the Sutter Ames thing. I was too focused on football, but Mandy was different. She had a wild side, you know. I never did understand it. Ames and that older guy...
Renfrew Mortimer?
Yeah, Mortimer. She liked the attention they gave her, and she used it to get what she wanted. But she was my girl.
What happened, Adam? How did she die?
On that afternoon before the ritual, Mandy and I were messing around at my place. We got in a stupid fight about Sutter Ames and the ritual that night. I didn't want her to go.
Why not?
I thought maybe she was cheating on me with Sutter, or Mortimer, or who knows. She denied it. Anyways, things got a little physical.
You hit her?
No, I would never hit Mandy. She ran away and I chased after her, tried to stop her from leaving. I grabbed her and pulled her back, and she fell and hit her head on the coffee table. There was blood everywhere. Well, she seemed okay at first. She had trouble standing up. Then she just passed out. She died right there in my arms.
So how does Mandy's blood end up on the saw?
My mother came home right then and saw Mandy's body. I explained how it was an accident, but she flipped out. Said if anybody found out, then my life would be ruined. It was her idea to try to pin it on Ames. She figured we mutilate the body, make it look like a ritual killing. Sutter would be the obvious fall guy. I hated the whole thing. I couldn't stand doing that to Mandy, but I was scared. I didn't want to go to jail. We cut her up and moved her out to Sutter's camp. Everybody in town pointed the finger at him, but they could never quite prove it. He disappeared, and things have been quiet ever since. Until that author showed up, started asking questions.
Regina Blacklock.
Yeah, she had me scared, so I looked her up. I saw her blog post that said she'd made new discoveries that would turn the case on its head. I knew she was on to me.
So you killed her?
I had to. I'm the mayor of this town. I know it's wrong, but I couldn't let these people down.
Mr. Atkins, you have the right to remain silent.